Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Tristan Barracks here, the digital storyteller, and I am super excited for another live stream. Now, this live stream is going to be unique in a way because it is actually going to be an interview. It's going to be an interview with my friend Tanya May. She is an amazing business person, entrepreneur. She has over 20 years of experience with regards to being in the financial sector. She has been in various roles, like for instance, within the medical field, the dental field, the hospitality field. She has a amazing business that does like high end sort of like personal assisting. So if you need like somebody to do things like your bookkeeping or to order and organize things for you in your home because you're an executive, she does executive level assisting for people and is a personal assistant on her side hustle and kind of like going into a full-time hustle, but she also works within the financial industry, and she is just a phenomenal resource. We actually connected years ago because we know the same people, and one of the things I'm really excited about is the fact that she knows so much more than I do about so many different things in terms of the financial aspects of things and how you can take advantage of just the help that's there for creatives. Last week, I was creating or doing creative lives specifically around business basics for creatives. I thought it was important for us to focus in on the fact that we can't just be all creative and not business minded as well. And she reached out to me and she was sharing some really cool tips with me and information. I thought, you know what, let me bring her on. But before I go any further, I just want to let you know, don't judge me, okay? This is my basement right now. It's all helter skelter because I'm working on some things. Since I'm at home, I'm like, okay, finally, I think it's time to renovate the house and do some things that I wanted to do from a while back. So if you see some people running around, or you see O'Shane in the background, or you see other people, moving stuff around, it's because we're actually in renovation mode. So I'm going to bring in my friend, my colleague, and amazing person, Tanya May. Let's give it up for Tanya May. How you doing? Tanya May,
Good.
sorry.
How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. I am so excited to have this conversation with you. I think, if I haven't told you this privately, I want to tell you this publicly, that I really respect the heck out of you. I think you are such a knowledgeable person. You are a beacon of just a bunch of wisdom and knowledge and understanding. And I think in times like this, one of the best things that we can do as individuals and as people is really use each other as resources, right? To help not only inspire each other, but to help each other up. Like if I don't know something, I don't have to go around acting like I don't know anything. Like I can go to people that are resources who have the time to actually share their knowledge. So I'm super grateful that you are joining us, and I just can't wait to jump into it. Would you like to say anything to the audience, or tell us a little bit about yourself?
So first of all, let me say thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here too. I'm normally not on the creative side of things. I'm normally not in the forefront. So this is a little bit out of my comfort zone, but I do want to share and I do want to help. And I think that where you've started with some of the things that you were doing last week and sharing about it and just discussing is really crucial in general, but especially at this time. I will say some people might think I know a lot, and I've learned a lot. I won't give you the cheesy line like, the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know. I mean, that's true.
Yeah.
But the stuff that I know someone taught me or I had to learn. So it's not like it just dropped on me.
Mm-hmm.
And so some of the things I'll share will be more so things that I've learned from a personal perspective. Or just helping people over the years. But it's certainly not the end all be all, because truly for me, people will come and ask me to do something and I've never done it before and I just have to figure it out. So I do appreciate the honor. I appreciate the respect. But just like, creatives are figuring out new ways to do things creatively, I figure out new ways to do things on the back end of things.
That's good. No, that's great. I love that, and I love the fact that you're just really reminding us that we're always constantly learning, and that being creative, just because you're creative, it doesn't mean that you can't take those same skills, the aptitude to learn. You can't apply it to other areas of your business, right? You can't be a great business owner. You can't be a great investor, or financial. You can't be financially literate. That's a lie. Like you can definitely, if you put your mind to it, and get in the right circles, and get the right information, you can be just as well versed in the financial sector, and being financially sound in your business as you are creatively sound. So without further ado, let's just jump into question number one, which is, why is it important as a creative to build a business relationship with the bank? Because this is something that I've been realizing a lot of creatives have just kind of, I don't want to say drop the ball on, but they just don't think that it's that important, or they haven't thought about it. And could you explain or elaborate why having a relationship, a business relationship with a banking institution is paramount?
Yeah, I would say the first thing to clarify here, though, is that a relationship implies more than just a one-off account or a product or a one-time visit to the bank. So just like a personal relationship with someone or another business relationship that you might have, it's typically based on more than one interaction and it grows over time. So although you might start out with the one account or the one product, it's something that's going to continue to grow. And I'd say it's important because you need the bank to know you, know your business and your financial situation in general. That helps them serve you, make recommendations, and give you financial advice.
Yeah, no, that's
Just
that's sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, go ahead, Tristan.
Oh yeah, no, I just I can't agree more. And this is something I had to learn very I guess the hard way, because
Yeah.
obviously I started my business without even knowing I started my business. I kind of just registered a sole proprietorship, and I started to get weddings, and I was getting more and more money, and then I was realizing like I got married, and I didn't want to have my funds just in my personal account, because then I couldn't track how much sales I got, and then I was wondering why like I wasn't a viable option for bank loans and all this other stuff, and then I realized, well, the bank doesn't know me as a business entity. They just know me
Yeah.
as Tristan Barracks, the dude that, has a car loan with them, right?
Yep. So the foundation of banking is really trust. And if the bank doesn't know you, they can't trust you. Just like you may not trust your neighbor if you don't know them.
Mm.
Like if they come knocking at your door to ask for milk, are you going to open the door? Do you
Hmm.
know who they are? So, just like a relationship that you may have with a supplier or someone else that you do business with, you might have access to special discounts, privileges, special sales, inside information. For example, if you have a full product suite personally or professionally with a bank, they may honor that by being willing to negotiate different terms or even give you better rates on borrowing products and investments. But if
Oh.
you haven't built that relationship, you're going to get what's out there, and chances are you might get excluded from it because they don't truly know that you qualify.
Now, when we talk about products, because a lot of people have this question to me, and I think we have it later on, but I don't mind jumping into it now.
Sure.
What do you mean by products? Because I know what you mean by banking products, but a lot of people don't know, like, how does a bank have products? Don't they just hold my money? Don't they just give me money? What are the products? So can you go into that a little bit, elaborate?
Yeah, so I'd say, you know what, products are more so services, but we use the term in industry products. So it really depends sort of where your business is at, which ones you might need or which ones you might be exposed to. The most basic ones, like if I was to sum it up, would be accounts and credit products and then investment products. So sort of the three pillars. So accounts, the most basic would be like your checking business account, your savings account for the business, credit products, loans, lines of credit, for capital, for revolving credit, especially if you have high volumes of orders and maybe different cash flow seasons. So, for some industries, cash flow will come at certain periods in the year. Sometimes it'll be really high, sometimes it'll be really low. So, credit products can help sort of balance that out if need be. And then, of course, you have investment products, which I think for small businesses, investment products are the least known because people tend to not get there. It's really important to have investment products, but they're also really specific to the business in terms of the risk that you'd like to take, whether or not you have boards of directors and things like that. So just like things are available banking wise for personals, pretty much the similar things, you can have them for businesses. So there's business mutual funds, there's business GICs, there's business savings accounts that I mentioned, and some of them they'll have long-term sort of interest available on them. So it really depends on where you go, but most places, small businesses don't get to the investment side.
That's great. That's great that you're kind of defining certain things there. And one of the things that stood out to me when I was doing some research last week when we were talking about like just business products and things of that nature was just this idea of I didn't know that you had investment, accounts for businesses. I didn't know that there was a specific type of account for non-for-profits and for charities, and like how those worked. And like even a long term, there was one that I saw that I spoke about very briefly because I just did a little bit of research on it, which was like a long term savings account where you made a lump of money and then like you kind of had to leave it there for like it was almost like a bond, but it wasn't.
Yep.
It wasn't a bond. It was like
Yep.
a investment account, and I was like, wow. If I knew that, I would do that, even if it was like $2,000 or $3,000. I mean, it's at least I know that I'm getting a fixed amount back, and it's almost like a way to kind of make sure that I have a little bit of padding for my business, moving forward. And I'm definitely going to be looking at some of those products.
Yeah, it's true. There's the long-term investment is very similar to a GIC. Some banks or organizations will offer it as an account, and you hold it in there for a certain period of time, depending. Usually, the things that dictate, I guess, the level of interest or return that you'll get on the investment would be the time horizon, so how long you're having
Okay.
it in there, and then the amount.
Okay.
So sometimes you'll get a bonus interest or a higher interest if it's in there for a longer period of time.
Okay. Okay. That's good. That's good. All right. Let's jump into the next question here. What can creative professionals do to get through this tough time? Because this is really the money question, right? Like at the end of the day, great, Tanya. Oh yeah, they have products. Yeah, I don't want to get into debt right now. I don't got no money. I need to take my money out of the bank because I need to take care of my bills. How is the bank actually going to help me through this tough situation?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing to remember right now is there's a huge partnership amongst the major financial institutions in Canada and the government. And so I'll kind of break it down a little bit. I think the biggest thing is you need to be aware of what's available to you from a financial help perspective and take advantage of it. I was speaking with someone the other day, sort of someone that I do freelance for, and they're like, I don't want to do it. It might look bad. It's not going to look bad. If you're going to take advantage of financial help, now is the time to do it and have no shame in it.
Mm,
So the first thing would be to really research what you qualify for and pursue that help. So as a person and as a business,
mm,
um, there's advantages to taking the personal help that's available to you and freeing up cash and or time for you to focus on your business. So the biggest thing that I can say is check out the government programs and then connect with your bank to see what they have to offer you in your specific situation. I'll be honest, the help's not going to fall in your lap. Your bank is not going to come to you and say, hey, Tristan, I really want to help you with this government program. They're flooded with calls. They're flooded with people who want the help. You're going to have to work for it. You're going to have to call them. You're going to have to probably sit on hold for a while. They're having the same challenges that many industries are having. People are sick, people are at home, they're pivoting and they're coming up with new ways to do banking. So reach out to them.
mm.
To give you some general information, I'd say depending on how your business is set up and how you employ yourself, if that's how you pay yourself, or if you have employees. The Prime Minister just recently, I think yesterday, increased the wage subsidy up to 75%. Again, depending on how you pay yourself and or your employees, you may qualify for that, which is a huge chunk of savings and really a gift of money. I haven't seen it yet, but I also believe there's an announcement coming. If it came out, then I'm just not up on it today, where there's going to be some interest-free borrowing for small business that the government will be supporting through financial institutions. So this is another opportunity where you
Wow.
see, hey, if I don't have that existing relationship already, it might be a little more difficult. If you're doing banking, under your mattress, stuffing your cash there, the bank can't necessarily help you with that. So,
Wow.
not to say that you can't go back and do it from now, it's just going to be a little more challenging and you're going to have to be a little more understanding. I'd say there's a host of things available from the government on a personal level. There's different things around per diems if people have to stay home in order to take care of children, to take care of elders, those types of things that are sort of elevated and out there because of COVID-19. I can really, the biggest thing that I can say, aside from having a one-on-one with someone, is that they need to check out the website that the government has. So I provided Tristan with a link. I don't know, Tristan, if you'll post it
Yeah,
for them later.
I'll put, what I'll do is I'll put it into the description area so then it's available when they want to replay it, and just some of the key points that you're sharing with us. I'll put it in the description so then people can kind of follow along as they're watching it later.
Sure. And then back to the banks, what I'd say is 2 weeks ago, they announced sort of like this joint thing, a joint press conference, I guess, indicating that they're going to help Canadians right now. So again, not everything will be available to everybody. Not everybody will qualify. If I'm being completely honest, a bank's not going to give you $10,000 because you need it solely. They may
Mm-hmm.
give you $10,000 because you need it and you have the ability to pay it back.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're going to be, relaxing some of the rules and stuff. Again, really based on relationship. I'd say personally, I've noticed that a lot of the relief is kind of personal based. Not to say that the business stuff isn't coming, but there hasn't been a lot of information on business stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where having a relationship with a business advisor or starting one is going to be really helpful for you. So
Mm-hmm.
some of the things that I'll recap that you can do personally and may be available on the business side at your institution will sort of help you kind of, I'd say, free up some cash or buy you some time depending on your situation. So there's things like mortgage deferrals for up to 6 months. So
Wow.
that doesn't mean your mortgage goes away. It doesn't mean
Mm-hmm.
interest stops calculating, but it means you're not making payments for 6 months potentially,
Mm-hmm. Which
right?
that was the question I was going to ask you next was like, if I have a line of credit, if I have a credit card, and they're waiving 3-4 months of my payments, what
Yeah.
happens with the interest, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, again, you kind of answer that, but yeah.
Yeah, typically interest will accumulate. There's some, unless they specify one of the offers that they have to help,
Mm-hmm.
interest isn't accumulating, then it's going to accumulate. When it comes to loans, similar situation, deferrals, but for less of a period of time. Typically, I'm noticing that most financial institutions, when you look at their websites, they're offering about 3 months,
Mm-hmm.
some a little less, maybe some a little more. Lines of credit are a little bit different. Here's where it gets tricky. So I'm going to give you a tip. If you're deferring a line of credit, you need to find out what happens after the deferral. It's a very specific question. You need to ask if the next payment is going to be ballooned or if it's just deferred. And so what I mean by that
Mm-hmm.
is if your payment is ballooned, you actually could wind up in a situation where it wasn't a useful thing to take advantage of that. So
Mm-hmm.
a balloon payment means you have a line of credit payment that's due this month and next month, and you're going to defer, but it's going to be ballooned in the third month. That means on the third month, they're actually going to require the payment for those 3 months in total.
Which I mean, you may be just getting outside and getting jobs again, right? So
Right.
that can be very very yeah. Well, this is the thing. I was, for my personal financial sort of situation. One of the things I was saying to my wife was, if we can pay it, and it's not going to, it's not going to be like really really tight for us, then let's just pay it. Let's just do business as usual as long as we possibly can, so that we actually take advantage of the things that we need to take advantage of, right? And I think the thing that I love that you're saying is that there are a litany of different variety of different ways that the government and institutions are trying to provide relief for us as creatives, as Canadians, as personal customers and clients. We just have to figure out exactly what we need, and to, versus what would just be a bonus and would be nice to have. But at the end of the day, we still have to pay that. We have to pay that money back, right? Whatever
Right.
money that we borrowed, whatever interest is incurring, we still have to pay that back.
Right. The other thing that I would say is for things like the line of credit, your logic makes sense. And of course, your logic and your course of action is based on your personal situation and what you know about yourself,
Yeah.
and your business and sort of your financial situation as a family. One of the things that I would say with a mortgage deferral, though, is if you take that advantage of that and you find by month three, like you're okay, you could still use that money to have it there as a safety net or to invest in your business, right? And I
Mm.
don't mean like a formal investment, but maybe there's something you've been putting off, or maybe there's something you're thinking, gosh, I can't afford that right now. Look at what's happening in the economy related to COVID. I'm not getting business. Maybe you're lending to yourself by deferring your mortgage. But if you find out you don't need it, and again, speak with your financial institution about the penalties on the specific mortgage type you have, chances are, more times than not, you can take that money that you've saved by not paying your mortgage. So, you're not going out anywhere and just spending it all willy-nilly, but you have that money to throw back as a lump sum payment. So it's going
That's
back on
good.
your principal again, right? So it's a little bit different with the different products. The other thing is, I mentioned that balloon payments are typical with PLCs, not always, but most financial institutions will do it that way. A credit card, for example, may have an interest-free grace period that's extended. So we know that we have that from the times we make purchases. Again, credit cards typically have a higher interest rate, so maybe they'll have a reduced interest rate to help you with COVID. There's less of a clear line across the institutions on credit cards. They're all kind of specific, so you really need to see what it is you have.
Okay.
But there are some advantages there as well. So it really depends on the product, your preference, and your situation in terms of what you should be taking advantage of.
This is great information. I can't wait to reshare this. This is amazing, Tanya. Thank you so much. Let's jump to the next question here. So, what are good financial products creatives should be aware of? So what are some of the things? I mean, we spoke about the products that institutions provide to us, but then also we spoke about some of the products that we may have. But what are some products that maybe creatives like myself, freelancers, creative entrepreneurs, creative professionals don't know about that maybe they should know about?
I'd say chances are you've probably heard about a lot of them, but never thought you needed it, or just thought you don't have time for it, or never bothered to research it, because more times than not, when I'm dealing with my clients, they're just so busy doing what they do and what they're passionate about. So some of the things, I guess, generally speaking, at a minimum, you should have the checking account that we talked about. But to go along with that checking account would be checks. I mean, it sounds pretty basic, and I realize that checks aren't the most common form of payment anymore, but I personally recommend having at least 50 on hand for a couple of reasons. The biggest thing is they're usually required contractually for larger deposits. Larger purchases may require that, or may require a certified check. You can't get a certified check if you don't have a check.
I didn't know
Right?
that.
You're going to go into the bank and ask for a certified check. Now, you can get a draft if they have them available, but if your contract or your purchase or whatever it is you're engaging in is asking for a certified check, you don't have a check, it can't be certified. And often it's used in paperwork to show proof of banking information. So direct deposit, direct withdrawal forms. Maybe you're doing a special item with the government that requires it, or a special contract of some sort. So I recommend having checks. Again, seems a little bit obsolete. I recommend having at least 50 on hand. The next
That's
thing,
good to know. I just didn't even think about that, but that's good to know.
The next thing that I'd recommend, I think that most people will be familiar with this, is PayPal, but a professional PayPal.
Oh, okay.
So it just brings a little bit more legitimacy to the business when you're doing business in the business name, as opposed to like your personal name, unless of course your personal name is your business.
So I shouldn't be like, my name is Chicken George. Just go at Chicken George at PayPal and pay me my $1,000. I shouldn't do that, right?
Yeah, I don't recommend it from a legitimacy perspective.
Okay.
And I think it gives you, very basic, we know what PayPal does, but it gives you that ability to kind of do transactions online and through e-commerce quite easily and very cost effective. The next thing that I would suggest is a banking product. We touched on it when we talked about what help is available, but definitely a business card, a business credit card. So a business Visa, business MasterCard.
And why would that be something that that a creative would need? And what if they already have a personal credit card? What's the differences? What are the advantages?
Well, a credit card, just like for personal, it builds the credit history of the individual or the organization. So if you're doing everything on your business credit card and you're maintaining it really well, what's going to happen is your personal credit history is going to look amazing, but your business credit history has nothing. It's the most basic form of building credit history. So it's going to be difficult. I shouldn't say you're not going to be able to, but it's going to be difficult to go from no credit, just making money, having a business checking account, to, hey, I need a business mortgage because now I'm opening up a studio.
That's true. And a lot of people go through that, and they don't think like it's all about trust. It's all about relationship. If your banking institute doesn't have a relationship with you on a business standpoint, then they're not going to give your business any play. They're not going to present you with any sort of options, right? So any sort of products. So no, those points are, I mean, they echo so true.
The other thing that I would say along the lines of credit cards is actually a system to receive credit card and debit card payments. So when you're small, it could be something as cost effective and tiny like Square, the little thing that you attach to your phone or whatever. I think they have a couple different systems available, and they kind of charge you on a transaction basis.
Yep.
But then as you grow, maybe you're doing trade shows, maybe you have a storefront, maybe you're busy, on location doing weddings, and you want to get the second half of your payment right there, you may look into things like a POS system, so point of sale system,
Yep.
from your financial institution or third party. So some of the ones that come to mind would be like a Moneris. So that's the actual terminal that you see when you go to a store. Eventually you may need to move to something like that. I know companies like Square are getting more competitive, and they actually have whole complete like cash register POS systems. So make sure that even from now, if you don't need it, you're doing your research on that so you understand where the cost lies and what's more cost effective for the types of transactions you're doing and the types of payments you're receiving.
That's good. No, that's very, very good. This is, man, I mean, I thought I knew what I was doing when I was doing a little research on the bank accounts, but this is so good. All right, so we're off to the next question. How do you see financial institutions changing moving forward after COVID-19? Or are they going to change?
You know what? I don't know. I personally don't think there's going to be a lot of change in terms of product offerings or what they do,
Okay.
because the bank is pretty all-encompassing. I do think it's going to force them to think about small business more. So most
That's
banking,
good.
we think product or large corporate, and the small business guys kind of get lost in the middle. And so I think you're going to see a huge focus on that, because if one small business goes out of business, and I don't mean any offense, it doesn't mean a whole lot to the government or society or the economy as a whole. But if a bunch of small businesses across many sectors go out of business because of a large thing like COVID-19, that's impactful to the economy as a whole. It impacts everybody.
Well,
So I think you're
well,
going to see them get a little more agile and put a little more focus on small businesses.
well, just to your point, I mean, the last time I heard the statistics in terms of like just like small businesses, I think they make up like 50% of the workforce, the Canadian workforce. So like it's literally half of all businesses are represented in businesses that are what 100 people or less or something, or like
Yeah.
it's so it's not. Although the corporations are making billions of dollars, they're not necessarily the actual main contributors to the economy as we think. Where they're not the only contributors. The smaller businesses are very much a big part of it. At least as a whole, not necessarily as individual pieces. So to your point, that's really spot on.
Yeah, I also think too, like you'll find that banks are a little more proactive about financial planning for individuals and small business.
Mm-hmm.
So that will help them ensure that less people are caught off guard, that they're receiving less write-offs and less of a hit from a negative perspective. And I think you'll see them, as I mentioned, embracing a lot more technology in terms of how they service people.
That's good.
But
That's
in terms
good.
of products, I don't think you're going to see a huge change because they really have all the pillars now. How they
The,
offer those to you or get them to you or allow you to work with those products from a technology perspective, being more e-commerce based, I think you may see an increase in that, but I don't think there's going to be a lot of product offering changes.
Yeah, I think just outside looking in, I think this is definitely going to make them push really really hard in their digital sort of marketing departments as well as digital like services. How can we get people, not to say that they don't want brick and mortar, because obviously they love those assets, but the reality is that they're like, we need to get people connected understanding all the products that we have, all the services that we have available, so that they're locked in and they're connected and they're feeling good about any sort of situation. So I do think that to your point, they are going to probably go really, really hard, like many of us are, in really embracing the digital age totally, and not really having those sort of conversations in our head about, well, do I really have to switch now? Is it really time to go totally digital? It's like this, if anything, everybody's learning is that we have to go digital. You know what I mean? It's not even a choice anymore. Like, we have to go digital. We have to have conversations, over the internet. What does that look like, 10, 15, 20 years down the line? So, man, that's crazy. Any other thoughts on that, or you're good?
I think I'm good for that question.
Okay, cool. And our final question before we open up the questions to you and to everybody else is, what what lessons, I'm sorry, I messed up that question there. What lessons should we learn as creative professionals? So not passions, but lessons.
Yeah, so I would say, even going back to the way it was worded, I think it is less about passion and more about being disciplined in general. So discipline is learned only by practicing it. So if you find that your discipline is weak in an area, the truth is, and I learned this the hard way, it will impact every other area of your life eventually.
Yeah.
So if you're not disciplined, work on it. And the more you work on it, the more disciplined you'll become. The other thing for me, and I've only learned this by making a lot of mistakes personally with my money and my time is money and money is time. So it's either you learn how to do something like your own bookkeeping or whatever it is, or you pay someone to do it. Just like I learn how to do my own photography, which is not a good idea, or I pay someone like Tristan to do it.
Yeah.
Either way, there's a cost. It's time or money. So now it's really about what you can afford. Is it time you can afford or money you can afford? And I guess sometimes by default, it is what you can't afford. And so you have to go with the other option. So I think that's sort of the biggest lesson. COVID-19 is going to force you to go through that. So discipline, and then realizing time is money, money is time. And then overall, pretty much what we've been talking about here is basic banking skills and bookkeeping. So
let's talk a little bit about bookkeeping. Could you
sure,
share?
Go for it.
Yeah, no, because I think for me, I'm terrible at bookkeeping, but I'm no, honestly, I'm terrible. But one thing I can say is that I understand bookkeeping and I respect the skill that somebody would have to do bookkeeping, and that's why I spend more money on for people to do it for me, or for people that are organized to help me with it, because it takes a certain level of organization and approach and mindset to do that. So I would love to hear your thoughts on bookkeeping and why that's important. Some people I know for a fact, some creatives are like, bookkeeping, what's that? Why do I need bookkeeping? So
bookkeeping and banking go hand in hand. Bookkeeping really shows you you can do reports. You need it for taxes. I mean, that's the biggest reason. But it can really show you where your money's going, where your money's coming from, and why stats and, sort of cash flow fluctuations and understanding that process might not be super important to you. It is important to people like banks and lenders and investors who want to invest in your company. But it also helps your financial advisor, who you're developing that relationship with, give the right advice. If they don't see that in and out, which means bookkeeping is the process of tracking that, they can't give you a whole lot of sound advice. The other thing is your accountant can't file your taxes for you. So I said your accountant can't file your taxes for you, and most people are like, well, I can do them myself. Yeah, you can. And so Tristan said, how long I've been working in this industry for, like over 16 years. And to date, I will not. And I've done a lot of this stuff, but I will not take on the responsibility of filing a corporate tax return or a small business return for anybody. I'll get everything ready, but I rely on an accountant that I work closely with to do that, because there are so many little things that fluctuate with the government in terms of levels, percentages you can write off, things that you can get back, tax sort of brackets. The accountant, he loves to learn that stuff.
Exactly.
Me, I know it, but I don't stay as current with it.
Yeah.
Bookkeeping skills are pretty much the same year over year. And so the accountant will charge you a lot more if you go to him with your shoebox of receipts.
Yes.
Versus if you go to a bookkeeper or if you do that bookkeeping yourself.
Yeah.
To help you do bookkeeping, depending on your business, it can be something as a simple Excel spreadsheet where you're tracking all your income, so all the money in and all the money out. It could be a financial management software. So I'll pause here. I have two that I typically recommend. Doesn't necessarily mean that you have to use them or that they're the best for you. But the two that I recommend and the two that I use most often with my clients are QuickBooks or Wave Accounting.
Wave Accounting, great. Great. And it's free, to a certain point, but it's amazing.
Is for the most part, yeah.
It's amazing. Sorry, go ahead.
So Wave Accounting is a free base platform. There are services that you can add on or as you grow that can cost you. QuickBooks is something you pay for. That's the biggest difference. I will say most small business people who have no financial background or understanding at all really like Wave. People like me who have an understanding from the financial side will like Wave, but will struggle to get used to it. And so I actually just recently went through that struggle about 6 months ago. I had to learn it because some of the things are opposite from a financial perspective, and even opposite between banking and accounting. So debits and credits are, the most common things, how you look at them. But Wave is very user-friendly, and I find a lot of clients who have no financial background will go for Wave over QuickBooks. QuickBooks has a lot of integrations, a lot of things come with it. It's a one-time fee. They also have some subscription fees. So, it really depends. I'd encourage you to kind of look them both up. But if anything, start with Wave, and you can migrate over if you feel that you need QuickBooks.
And one of the things I'll say is that both are great products. Both are very robust. The only reason why I left Wave was because it didn't suit my full business needs. So I actually switched over to a client management software called Dubsado, which actually manages my full business, and it actually integrates with, I believe, QuickBooks and FreshBooks. So I mean, it just had more meat in it, and for me it was just like, it just didn't make sense to be jumping to a whole bunch of different websites to manage my business. But if you're just doing like really simple accounting, or if you want, like, the biggest thing for me that I miss from Wave is, like, when you make an invoice, you can quickly turn that into a quote, send that out to a client. You can do reminders, you can track certain payments, you can itemize things, you can connect it to your business accounts. There are certain things that they make really, really simple and really easy, and that's what I miss the most. But it was just not a complete solution. So to your point, Tanya, definitely you got to do your research. You got to do, like O'Shane says, do your Googles and figure out what works for you, right?
Yeah, you definitely do. I think you mentioned FreshBooks. FreshBooks is very similar to Wave Accounting. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe it is owned by Intuit, which is the owner of QuickBooks.
Okay.
So you'll find some similarities. So each financial management software or platform, if it's web-based, will have pros and cons. And there's going to be some things that are integrated on one but not on the other. And they're constantly evolving too, just like banking. So the biggest thing that I can say is either get a bookkeeper or learn basic bookkeeping and do it, and be on top of it all the time. So if you let bookkeeping pile up, even for me, sometimes I do it and I'm like, that's not important. I can, catch up. I can do this monthly.
Yep.
But it's a pain in the backside when you do that, because you sit down and you're like,
you're trying to remember where this receipt was from. Was this a gas receipt because I was checking my grandma, or was this a gas receipt because I was meet up with a client, or is this a dinner thing because I was taking my wife out on a date, or is this like a client meeting? You don't remember, and you're not going to make notes in your calendar for everything. Like, it's just better to have somebody do it for you as best as possible. And I'll be honest with you, full transparency, I probably lost thousands of dollars worth of tax credits because I just wasn't as organized as I should have been. And I'm learning each year, I'm getting better and better and better. But sometimes it's just better to spend $1,000 or spend $2,000 or whatever it is. If you're making $100,000, if you're spending $1,000 or $5,000 or $6,000 for somebody to make sure that your taxes and your receipts are in order for the year, that's a business expense. That actually is something that's deductible and can work in your advantage as well. So yeah.
So I think accounting is a big thing. I definitely always believe accounting is really where it should lie in terms of tax preparation. And So yeah, bookkeeping and accounting. But then in terms of skills, I think really basic banking skills. So, understanding the products that are available to you, some of them we talked about today,
Yep.
but like, how do I get money in my account? So you have money sitting in a PayPal, but you need to pay someone for, I don't know, a camera, and
Yeah.
you can't go to Henry's. I mean, maybe you can, but I don't believe you can go to Henry's and walk in the store and say, hey, yeah, I want this camera. It's $5,000
Yep.
and I want to pay for my PayPal.
Yep.
Maybe you can do it online, but if you're going inside the store to get a product, or you need a guy to fix your car,
Yep.
some people aren't there yet,
Yep.
right? So how do you get that money over? Knowing how to do that, tracking.
Mm-hmm.
And then the thing that goes hand in hand with bookkeeping and banking is reconciling. So this is what I put in my financial management software. This is what my bank statement says. Is my bank missing something? So banks very rarely make errors, but they may. So I made a deposit for $1,000, but the bank put it in as 10. If you don't do reconciling, you might not notice that until a check bounces because you've written a check for $950 and it didn't go through.
Yeah.
So that sort of kind of goes hand in hand. And I think that that's probably the thing that most people need to learn from a creative perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. And the biggest thing, the biggest learn for me is that, if you are going to be a creative professional, it doesn't mean that you have to do every single thing, but you need to have knowledge on those topics and be able to trust people who are professionals, right? And just like you want your clients to trust you, right? And to give you leeway to be able to create something for them, a great marketing ad campaign, a spec ad, whatever, you have to now trust the other types of professionals that help you to do your business well. So no, this is great. Let me see if there's any questions. For those of you that do have any questions, please feel free to ask away. We are here to support you, to answer any questions for you. I'm just going to jump into this screen here. Give me a second here. Tanya, you're still there? You hear me?
I'm here.
Okay,
I hear
perfect.
you.
Perfect. Does anybody have any questions? Questions at all? Questions at all? I got a little comment here. So we got from How She Hustles. She says, have to watch the replay. Just logged on. Thanks so much for this. Oh, thank you so much. Appreciate you so much. Check out How She Hustles. That movement is amazing. We appreciate you so much. Any other questions at all? Any questions before we wrap up today? I'll wait for a few more seconds here. Do my little wait dance. Well, I don't see anything coming down the pipe right now, but I would like to say, if you do have any questions, or if you're watching the replay, please feel free to just type in the comments and ask any questions, and I'll definitely forward it or ask Tanya, or maybe we might reschedule another live depending on what's happening in our schedules. But I know that people after watching this, Tanya, are going to be like, man, I'm so glad I watched this. I have questions about this now, right? So if you do have questions, please leave it in the comments below. And also, if you're watching the replay, type in #replay and where you're from, what city you're from, what country you're from. We'd love to hear from you. And also just consider subscribing to the channel, liking the videos, and sharing it on your feed, because more people need to know about this. I just saw that there's a comment over here. Let me just check the comment section here. This is from Joseph. A lot of great info. Thanks. So Joseph is just saying, oh man.
You're welcome, Joseph.
He said it's dope. Great info. Thank you so much. We thank you for watching. We appreciate you. Tanya, you are amazing. I'm just so grateful that you came on. You gave us just the fire. You dropped the hammer. You gave us the info that we needed as creatives. Okay. We're not just creatives anymore. We are creative professionals. We're putting it together and we're making a baby, and it's going to be amazing. And our businesses are going to be better coming out of COVID-19. So I'm super hype about this. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, and please stay creative, guys. All right. And you have a successful day. Thank you so much, Tanya.
Thanks for having me.
Peace.
Bye.